Reggie, what's the haps?
It's time. Amaryllis was thinking. That's where we stopped. Let me get this one off Doxy's face. It's been there for a while.
No, leave it.
Too late.
I'm wearing that.
Hey, I'm eating that.
It's quite appropriate for rolling, isn't it? She's got one right next to her. Just hanging out, spending some time together.
If I had to give little symbols by each of you, Ian would have the 1.
Yeah,
and Neil would have the 20. And now...
The secret to my success is I roll lots of 1s and lots of 20s. The lucky bit is the 20s just come up at the right point.
Yes, my problem is the opposite. I'm not actually that bad a roller. It's just that all the rolls I roll well on the ones that don't matter. Yeah. So Amaryllis would just nod and say, "Yes, there is life beyond that of a normal tree there. That is likely the spirit that you seek."
Okay, so Lara gets a wild idea.
No!
And just puts her hand on the tree and says, like, I imagine sitting at this camp that's near him. She's like looking down on him sometimes and just like, well, Reggie, Dad was wasted again, fucking fell down or whatever. So she would just put her hand on the tree and be like, Reggie? Like, kind of embarrassed.
There is... First you feel it, because you've got your hand on him. You feel a creaking. But then you start to hear...
Pulls it back.
Very low and bassy. And because this thing's kind of hunched, its head is kind of looming over you. With the kind of broken birch. And it just twists. So the kind of eye, which is the twisted knots of its face, is kind of looking vaguely in your direction. It's one of those things you could probably think it was looking at you wherever you were. But its head turns towards you.
Imagine you have a stuffed bear, right? That has been your friend for a long time. And suddenly that bear comes to life. That's the kind of bewilderment that's on Balara's face right now.
Neil, if you're making a meme, you're muted. He's making a meal!
I've been considering making a crude joke all this time, and each time you see me move my mic down, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. No, I'm like, nah, no. Yeah, I'll do it. No, now's not the right time.
It's a secret message.
I feel like that's a surprisingly specific subreddit one when you've got a bear that's
in that like moment of shock and awe, the spirit slowly begins to stand, and all the like accumulated dirt and silt is the best way to say it from all the rain and things just starts to almost shiver off of it, revealing more of this thing's height as it stands. Unlike Amaryllis, it has the legs more like a beast, and there are patches of lichen that almost look like it's got furred, almost goat or wolf-like legs. And as its hands sort of snap off other parts, the fingers are uncomfortably long and clawed. The arms are long in general. The arms could reach all the way down to the bottom of its body as it starts standing. But this is all a very slow process. It's standing and moving and creaking and shifting.
Balara will fall to a knee and just like kind of bow her head. Like, not like she didn't even think to do that. Like, she just automatically did that.
Torrin would do the same. He'd drop to his knees, grasp the pendant, the amulet to Oilin, and start muttering prayer of protection from Oilin, from Oilin's beasts. Thank you, Oilin. If you're listening,
that is very much your religion.
Richter would like see everybody else sort of shift, and I would just lower my stance a little bit so I'm not quite as straight, and that's about as much as
Amaryllis just stands and stares. Doesn't make any motion to move.
Less from the body of this creature, more from the air around, although with the bassiness of a tree creaking in the wind, words do start to come from it. Who here speaks Sylvan?
Surprisingly enough.
Can you please give me an insight roll?
I can.
The words that he starts to speak are an ancient tongue, far older than the Sylvan you speak. And it's not that the words are the same, but the meaning and the way the words form are decidedly recognizable to you. Maybe it's... You would even be aware, Amaryllis, this is more than just you piecing things together. This is knowledge you didn't know you had. As it starts to speak Elder Sylvan. And the first thing...
Is this what we were talking about before we went live? This is the NPC who like talks to you in common, but it's like...
Now I have the image of this guy speaking like a fucking KK Slider from Animal Crossing.
It's a Cajun, is what I'm getting. Like a fucking Louisiana Cajun.
The words it starts to speak that... Again, they sound like the rustling and moving of the wind. The first thing it says, as it stands but still hunched and loomed over your frames, is... Why did you come here, little one? And you can tell he's talking directly to Belle, even though the words are completely foreign and alien to her.
I imagine there's a pause, and after sort of a few seconds, Amaryllis, in probably the closest thing to a surprised voice you've ever heard from her, which is still basically just her normal voice, just with the tiny bit of inflection. She's like, "This being speaks a form of language that I have never heard, yet the meaning rises up inside me. It wishes to know why you have come, Belle."
She's still like bowing down, not looking, just like on one knee, and says, "Please, I don't understand. Do you understand me?"
While this conversation is happening, its head sweeps to face Amaryllis, and then slowly back, as it stands completely at its full height, and it just doesn't reply for a little moment. I hear your soul. Which would be translated by Amaryllis.
Yeah.
All right. I come to you as an old friend, asking a favor. One that may be mutually beneficial. My village needs protection, and we seek a living wall.
There is... It would happen so suddenly that it would be slightly shocking. It creates a cracking noise as the hand that is just kind of like open and sprayed does crunch into a fist. You literally see chunks of bark like fall off of it as well while it's doing that. So the noise would be startling. But you don't feel, a threatening eye on you. This place is sick. You seek to close your lives away from it.
No. No. We want to heal the forest. We must survive to do that. We seek to close ourselves from outside threats.
You can give me a persuasion roll with advantage.
Come on, guy.
Double 24.
Nice.
It takes a slow step. The kind of thing that probably all of you but Amaryllis instinctively kind of shuffle back from. 'Cause it's just such
I'm
a
still
large...
just looking down at the ground. I don't dare make eye contact or whatever until it gives me an indication that I should or may.
Not looking at it. The first sign of its response would be its hand touching your cheek.
Then I would look up at it.
In a caring way, although of course, how do you read something without a face? And turning directly to Amaryllis. The longer it's been awake, the faster it's moving. With less difficulty. I have seen this pup run and hide here from all dangers. And now she seeks from me. I see growth. I see humility.
Amaryllis would, after a pause, she's not going to translate that. She would speak back in Sylvan and would say, "Young Belle has great potential. Adversity breeds growth. She is stronger today than mere weeks ago as I met her. Your aid would allow her to grow further, to become a true defender of these woods."
We do not seek growth like a man or a drake. We seek life. Turns back to Belle. And then kind of, the hand does break away. And then in common, I will do as you ask.
Please, if there's anything I can do for you, if there's anything you know that I can do to help heal these woods, all you need to do is speak it, and I will see it done.
When looking up, you come to notice that there are 4 sort of white-grey wolves, behind him. On the ridge where he was sitting. Now he's much past that. They are far too clean in such dirty a place to be her regular wolves. Kind of watching this whole scene. I would like to say that the creature nods, but this isn't the sort of creature that would nod. It just sort of straightens up and then starts to move. Walking towards the village. Implied nod. That's right. There's an implied nod.
I will follow it. at a respectful distance. And if any of you were to look at Belle, like, despite herself, she, like, there's tears, but, like, not like fear, like, kind of I don't even know how to describe it, just like she's moved.
It's like an emotional overwhelming. You don't
like
might not
her
even
face isn't contorted at all. There's just tears there.
Amaryllis would move up beside her and just lightly touch her on the shoulder.
And Belle would look at her and point and be like, Reggie.
A slight smile. Amaryllis's face just nods slowly.
Like she understands exactly, like, just that one word conveyed all of the emotion.
Yeah.
Amaryllis spoke to a dead body for about 50 years, and then one day it started moving. It freaked her out as well.
Like I said, this spirit started moving slowly, but at this point it's got a striding pace. It's not running, it's just got long legs and is surprisingly swift. You would find yourselves in kind of a slight bustling jog to catch up with it, even though it's not going in any kind of... It isn't traveling with haste. It does bend itself under the branches that hang heavy with snow. You seem to notice the occasional tree or branch almost turn aside from it, which allows its passage a little bit easier. An area where you remember having to be careful not to trip on roots is root-free as you move, although all of that seems sluggish. Spirit is not a conversationalist. It says nothing more, but for you three, spiritually inclined, would probably notice the rumblings coming from it that aren't just the creaking of its body. Yeah, it's just a noticeable, somewhat pleasant sound. When it breaks free of the forest, the tree line, it does stand there for a bit in the light. The light kind of catches all the sharp segments of bark and the grime and the lichen and things like that, and it's one of those things that just cements this as real for a few moments. It stands there for a good 5 minutes or so, if any of you want to do anything.
I dare not.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think because it's broken the tree line. Is this within sight of the village, or yeah? I think
this forest would be like ever so slightly outside of the wall you're making, but
yeah,
right within the village.
I think Amaryllis would sort of gently place a hand on Richter's shoulder and say, "Young Richter, you may wish to go ahead to inform the village, just so that they are not alarmed."
The scouts.
Yes, of course. Good idea. And I will scurry off. I assume I'm running past the...
Yes, you are, and as you do, it does turn slightly, which would be a kind of gut-tingling reaction. Because it does... It turns like if you saw like a big bug scurry by your feet. But slowly and a little bit more gracefully. But you do have the feeling that this thing could swat you.
Just under my breath, I'd go, "Fuck me."
Like you hear it creak as it turns.
Yeah! It's perfect.
Belle would say to Reggie,
Goddamn cannon now.
that no, like she would say exactly. She would say, he moves ahead to dispel any ignorance, to make no mistake among the villagers what is happening here.
It just lifts a foot, similar to when Amaryllis moves. Even though it had been standing there for only 5 minutes, you see roots like pull out of the ground and dirt. And you just keep on this fast but somewhat slow march I guess because such a large creature seems to move slowly to the eye, but travels quite a great distance. It does go, instead of a beeline, it walks up the hill that Thorin had his connection to nature with, and then down it towards the village. Now, in the night that you were looking for Amaryllis, the placement of the wall has been marked out in digging little trenches and little markers and things like that. And the tree spirit walks up to this and stops and looks down. There's not enough neck movement, so it does kind of like lean forward and even put its arms kind of in front of it, almost like securing itself, looking at this. Now, after a bit of doing that, it stands up tall and creaks and gets even a little bit taller, looking over the roofs, looking at the hill where the graveyard is. This ancient being just kind of looks at everything you've done in your lives and the lives of your ancestors. You kind of get the impression that, yeah, it's never seen this. Why would it have? Maybe to something like this, it might be confusing that you're building out of mostly wood. But it seems to somewhat understand. The people who are seeing this are quite shocked, and of course it draws a lot of attention of the village. When Richter comes to get the scouts, Oscar absolutely comes back with him and is like, "What do you mean a bigger tree?"
There's always a bigger tree.
And when he would get close enough to see this thing, he'd be, "Fuck me." You know, when I first came here, I never would have believed something like this. That's it.
Rachel would just go,
They're a family of few words.
Like father, like son.
The tree spirit reaches and takes a segment that kind of was blooming with leaves and snaps it out of its body, and it is a visceral noise.
Belara would gasp
Yeah.
audibly at
It
that.
almost
yeah.
looks like, you know, the bones of an arm. It's just taken one of those two segments out. And then that arm just kind of swooshes limp. And it goes down to one knee and just scrunches that plant segment into the ground. And when it does, there is like a little light of green. Almost like roots that have yet to be created cascade out in green. And the little segments of wood that had been used as the marker where they've already started building the wall just start to knit and twist together and bloom in green. The tree spirit, not standing, says, this time again in Elder Sylvan, "Build your wall. The lives you cut to make it will not end."
Amaris translates.
And as for my part of the bargain, what can I do?
He stands, slowly turns, looking down at you, only you. "We hold want for nothing. But if the ground grants me sight of a need I would have for you, Belara, you will know." And this, of course, all in Elder Sylvan, aside from your name.
Amaryllis, ask him what he'd like me to call him.
Amaryllis will ask in Sylvan, as she's assuming that Belle has a reason, given that it can clearly understand in common, but she would say, young Belle would wish to know what to call you.
Head swoops to Amaryllis. And then back to Belle. We have no need to claim identity. I am what the world wills it of me.
I think that Belle would have way too much respect to look up and say, okay, Reggie.
Yeah, you can't just okay boomer him.
Big boomer energy from this ancient tree.
She'll just fall down to one knee again then.
He takes a few steps, but then stops. Kind of like the stopping stops all the motion of the body, and it kind of sways and ends up looking down. You needn't feel so alone. I was always listening. And I will still be where I rest. And there's a little more, like, emotion in those words. And you kind of can palpably feel it. And then it just starts moving again. Heading back the way it came. Actually going the more as the crow flies route, not going back up the vision hill.
Bellari gets up and is just, like, wiping tears from her face and, like, trying to hide that she even had any. Just like, well, that's the living wall sorted.
As Amaryllis watches the spirit go, she, without actually sort of turning to look, sort of respecting Belle's attempts to hide for tears, will just say, if you wish to refer to it as something, I would suggest referring to it as the forest, for in a sense that is what it is.
Thank you. I will.
All right. How would the boys take to this whole scene? The forest spirit is just lumbering back.
I would not back very many woods, as I am quite I've got no more wood puns. I'm out.
I don't think we quite.
You didn't have one. You didn't have one wood pun.
I would not back very many woods. There's 3 right there.
Doesn't mean it was good.
There are puns.
You went for quantity over quality. And it shows. Nothing?
Torrin,
It's okay to have nothing?
Torrin would look at Belle. And then he'd do a reach through and go, huh.
Huh.
That was weird.
We go see Griff.
All right.
Good.
Okay. It's a slow walk to Griff's. I mean, it's a long way, but Griff's is actually being used quite a lot. He doesn't really use the sort of open lumber mill workshop, but of course the people prepping the wall are. So he's kind of officially overseeing. Realistically, he's just kind of sitting in the shade. He's not even watching what they're doing. And Bell, you would clearly know it's because it pains him to watch something he can't be doing. Just to give Bell more feelings to feel today.
Yeah. Legit though, during that tree thing, Doxy almost cried. That was nuts. I loved every fucking second of that.
Right. I trust you'd be able to find a bottle of ale or two.
My daughter's seen to that, yeah. Yeah. She's great, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
And she's not married.
Yeah.
Torren, he just read.
And that gives him the biggest smile you've seen in a bit, because nothing brings a dad more joy than that.
And picking on his daughter, for sure.
Yeah!
Well, she is amazing. She's just negotiated with a tree.
Yeah. Married to the forest, that one.
We need to
so
celebrate.
Not unwed, father.
A toast is what I'm suggesting, because while I have the greatest respect for Oilin and for his creatures and the spirits, that was weird. But it was well done. And we're lucky that you spent all those years tree hugging in the forest. He winks.
I'm gonna leave. There's a tree pun for you.
Hey! That's how you do it, Dean! Comedy lessons from Doxy.
Oh.
Oof.
Wow, asshole.
Griff has no idea what's going on, but just kind of like pulls out one of the alcohol bottles.
And as he's doing that, Balara grabs like little wooden cups that he's fashioned and polished and whatnot.
I won't turn down a reason to toast. Drinking with meaning. Huh. Poor.
To Reggie.
To Belle.
I don't know what's going on.
He wouldn't. He'd already be drunk.
Yeah.
Everybody looks at Richter expectantly.
Oh, did I come?
You assumed you did?
You tell me, young man.
Oh, don't know why that's so funny.
Did you?
But it was. I guess he didn't.
He's like, fuck this, I ain't drinking.
They went to go with to go see Griff because Belle was awestruck.
Rachel wouldn't have gone.
That would have been great too, because you probably wouldn't have even noticed he wasn't with you until then. Because you would have just assumed that you walked as a 4 and then like turn around and he's not there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we would
Height of
definitely
drama.
Definitely been walking in silence.
Yeah.
Well, Griff, Belle's made a deal and has asked for some help. There's a wall being built.
Yeah,
not
I've noticed that one.
Not in the traditional sense anymore. They're only placing stakes of wood, and then the wood is growing. It's alive. What we need now is not labor, but a trained eye. Someone who understands where to put things, why and how. We need your help over in the village. Perhaps someone could give you a hand getting over there.
You can give me a persuasion roll for that.
naturally succeeding in my parish.
He...
I'm not Christian.
The land is your parish.
Exactly.
You're, he looks at you with a bushy eyebrowed scowl. And then kind of like... You can tell his thought process is broken by the noise of someone up in the workshop, because the workshop's like elevated, and he's sort of sitting like on the foundation of it, dropping something, and that distracts him. Well, there's no one else that could know anything. I should make sure that the people are doing it right.
Exactly. No one else does know. We need you.
Yeah, all right. I'll take a look.
Thanks, Griff.
And as they're walking out, Balara would take a look at the wood alcohol and make sure that he hasn't been drinking it.
He hasn't.
Okay.
You gave him enough of the better stuff. He hasn't been desperate enough.
Like, it probably is something that he's resorted to in the past is all, and she knows how bad
definitely,
that would be.
Got a very nice, well-lacquered throat.
This episode that could have been like a Tauran religious episode has turned into a Balara backstory episode, and I'm down for it. What next? Or do you want to just let time flow on?
No, we should go down the gnomish holes.
Yep.
Today?
Balara would actually spend a couple of days prepping the villagers to possibly move into those holes if they were deemed safe until the wall is solid.
Yeah, that makes sense to kind of make sure everyone has a bug out bag and things like that people can relocate quickly. What you would be doing going in the caves is checking if it's safe, because you know that facility goes down deeper, but you don't know what lurks in there.
Right. Exactly.
So it would make sense to kind of prep people. While that's happening, the wall is being built, and I imagine all three of you would actually care and not only help, but also witness it, because it is a strange experience when people position and place the wood. It attaches and grows and connects, and some of the parts that the area where the forest planted itself has already started growing into almost like a full tree. Like it started to sort of canopy out. So it is very, very cool.
She also would have gone at some point to just relay everything that happened to Leha and be like, you should have seen it. It was amazing. Like, yeah. And just like
Leha is
being excited with Leha about it.
Is happy to listen, and there's often times like, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea. This is beyond me.
Pilar's just like pacing and just like, and Reggie, and then Amaryllis was there. And
I feel like you also, Leha would have known about Reggie anyway. Because,
right.
You know, yeah. She would just be happy to listen. She wouldn't give you any, you know, advice on that right now. She would just be a glad ear.
Yeah, it's more celebratory is what Pilar is thinking. And like just visiting, and because last time she went there, she asked for a favor and like, commented on that. And she was just like, but I killed a squirrel and then it still did me the favor and celebrate.
Oh God, the squirrel.
Cool. But after a couple more days, the snow's really starting to set in. It's snowing pretty much every day now. It depends on the wind and other things, how much snow it's going to be. But because another reason why you want to clear out that forest is that cave is it will be a safer place if the winter gets really rough. It gets to be time to go and delve deeper in. All four of you would be going, of course. You would have been able to take the time to prepare your stuff and prepare, and this would be one of those situations where you don't have to wander around town looking for each other. You probably would have gone tomorrow morning, we're going, and we're going to meet up outside the cave, and we're going to go. So, unless you got any objections, I would suggest that would be what's going on. Of course, like I said, you have had time to prepare things, to get things if you needed, wanted to take victuals and supplies and random equipment and stuff like that.
I'm just looking through spells, just making sure.
You want to make sure you got the right
plan,
segment. That is a good idea.
Definitely change my spells.
I probably would have gotten a couple days worth of food ready for Griff before.
Oh yeah.
I've left the lasagna in the freezer.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember to defrost it properly.
Left the
Except for
lasagna to
it's
the
like-
freezer, and it pans out to the window, and it's just snow.
It's not tasty food. It's Balara fucking, I caught this fucking sparrow and cooked it and put it in the larder for you.
I boiled the sparrow for you. Oh, I didn't pluck it.
I was gonna say.
Sorry about the soggy bits.
Yeah, all of you have had. This is actually uncharacteristic for your group. You're not going to do something on short notice. You've had the last couple of days going, we will go down there. So you've had time to prep. You've had time to make sure that everyone's okay, to ask Oscar his opinions of things, check your mother, Richter, stuff like that. Torin to pray and think and plan and scheme.
I mean, you know, I'm keeping a watchful eye on Griff. I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
I've got him out of his little hole.
You have.
And now I need to keep him squirreled away in the village.
But now it's time for you lot to screw yourself into a hole.
The important
Lara
bit
would
is,
actually take a moment to give you thanks for giving him, like, some purpose. Also.
Torrent would obviously be entirely humble about it and say, it's fine, I'm just doing my job, saving your father from crippling depression. No, he's far more humble than that. And he just smiles happily. Right, I think that's good on the spells front. Only so much switching around I can do with you guys. Can't let go of the old cure wounds, if you know what I mean. You bunch of weenies.
I mean, cure wounds
Disaster
isn't much,
prone is the term.
cure wounds isn't much use on me because you don't get a chance to use it. I just die in 1 hit.
Yeah.
Don't need healing.
I mean, you can cure wounds like a dying person.
I know, I'm being an arse.
On the other hand, like I've not got like. I mean, is it a wound if it's made of bark? Do I need like bark skin or whatever? Ugh.
Don't worry about it. Is the answer to that question.
Yeah.
This is an excellent time for me to describe what's happened to the little mine/cave in the 2 weeks or so, maybe. Actually, it's almost been like 3 weeks since you last delved down. The aim of this area, which used to be a little copper mine, because you aren't a big community, and even when you were full size, you weren't a big community. Your copper mine was people go down and they find copper and they bring it out, and sometimes they chop it up. You know, it's not organized. You've transformed it into an area to grow this gnomish cave moss. This kind of purplish grey moss, following the directions given by the gnomes, is growing in little, almost like climber planters. So there's little wooden dowels for the moss to start growing up, and then it will kind of amass across the walls. And the plan is that the whole... all of the cavern walls be coated in stuff, because it takes a lot of it to actually be like a nutrient-rich meal. Balara would, but no, it's like spinach. It boils down into nothing. But it's you know, it's changed. It's been cleaned up a bit. More of the boarding has been placed in places where Ankeg have been dug through and stuff like that. And when you amass your party and travel down, there is an opening. The dangerous, rugged terrain that led into the ancient gnomish ruins has been cleared out by the strongest lads in all the world. Carefully moved to the side and stuff like that, which means you can explore more easily with torchlight. If you're ready.
Are you ready? I'm ready. I was just thinking, do I need torches? I don't need torches. I got magic, baby.
Whoa!
If I was not Torren and a more flamboyant character, that is definitely how I would like.
It's always just like, oh, it's a little bit dark. Sorry, Bella, won't bump into you. Wah.
Yeah, he's not got the praise the sun.
No.
Wah.
Okay. First area you travel down into is the part you've already explored in the gnomish settlement. As a reminder, when you last went here, you found out that the cavern, the cave that kind of opens up in the rock face that you've been mining by your village, this won't be inside the village walls. That's one of the big downsides, actually, is that the village walls kind of stop at the graveyard, and there is actually a little walk around the graveyard to here in case of any kind of evacuation. But the wall could be extended and defenses can be made and stuff like that. When you went and explored this before, you found out that this natural cave system might not be so natural, as eventually it opens up into carefully smooth-cut stone. It opened up into what is an ancient gnomish ruin. Pipes that traveled things using steam, doors that opened using key orbs. It was all like nothing you'd ever seen before. Not to mention...
Is it, real quick, sorry, is it dirt floors or is it like polished stone floors?
Once you get into this ruin, polished stone floors. But... Okay. Good distinction, because these would have been polished stone floors X amount of time ago. Nature has started to reclaim them. Now they're decaying,
right?
Like, the little bits of steam that have been let out by these machines and the pipes and things have done some erosion, but it wouldn't be as bad as, say, an open ruin on the surface, you know?
Okay.
So there's segments where it gets dirty, but most of it's preserved. If you can't see exactly what's going on, you can work it out. Some areas, it's clear that, you know, this door had more artistry to it and stuff like that, and now it's just kind of smoothened out and stuff like that. But yeah, you found this area that's smooth stone, mechanical pipes, doors and locks, and, to mention, autonomous clockwork defenders that were actually quite dangerous, especially some that exploded. Now, this area is free of all of that. There are the remains of the ones you fought before, which have been piled up in a corner, and some of the pieces have been taken because you guys don't smelt your own metal, so being able to just take a chunk of metal and use it for things is very useful. Well, this goes in three directions, right? Imagine a crossroads. The direction directly forward just goes down into a dark, smooth corridor. You never explored it before because...
scary.
You knew it would go deeper. Just the way the air flows and things like that. That travels much deeper to somewhere else completely. To the right, if you're standing at the crossroads, is the area that travels to a source of fresh water. Which, hey, maybe one of you wants to do something with that. Who knows?
That's awesome, actually.
Yes, that's where you got your little black squid. And to the left is the remains of a forge. The forge has a lot more of the mechanical things going on. You can see, like, droppers and troughs from different parts of this facility. A lot more pipes that, you know, someone could maybe crawl in and move to other areas, and you know, if you wished to explore that way, it would be totally possible to do so, if more difficult.
We might reach out to the Minotaur to see if we could get this forge up and running again.
It might be a good idea once we have something to forge.
Balara looks around at all the carcasses of the clockwork.
I hope you're not suggesting we arm and armor all the villagers. I still
Scouts,
don't think...
at least.
Possibly. However, he'll like grab one of the front flanks of his chainmail, one of the flaps where it's split so that he can move, and move it. And it jangles very loudly. Sometimes armor is not as defensive as, well, not being armored. Anyway, we'll have to speak to them about it before we know for certain either way.
Aye.
There is a movement in the empty forge that might put you a little bit on edge until you notice it's one of those cleaner constructs.
That's a little cleaner bar.
It might even be the one that you left here last time. Just kind of... It's like last time, the little cleaner construct doesn't seem to notice your presence, but does notice the footprints that you've left behind, and starts walking around you, kind of spraying a kind of sparkly mist from a hand that sometimes it rubs with the other hand and stuff like that.
I love him.
Yeah, we weren't here for the first exploration, were you? I thought someone wasn't. Yeah, these three have encountered one of these before.
They're cutesies. Didn't one get bombed?
There were two.
Might have been a guard one that got bombed.
You bombed a guard, one you fed to the Ankhed Queen, and I think this is the one that's left.
Oh, yeah.
No, one got taken away in a basket.
Yeah, that was one that got
You fed it to the Ankhed Queen later.
No!
You're like,
no,
we've got this great moving target. Makes
we're
just enough
monsters.
noise
I
and
was
movement.
there for that.
You left that. Not
Yeah,
for this.
okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
They're a lot cuter in their actual environment because they don't do like the cleaning and stuff. Otherwise, they just try.
Yeah,
to get
they get confused when they're not, they don't know the floor plan.
And poor baby, we murdered it.
Baby Roomba.
Murdered it to a monster.
You know what? This is a great place for us to take a break, and you guys could decide what you're going to do next.
I
Sure
say
thing.
we go deep down the middle.
Well, you can discuss going deep in private.
I will.
In my privates! Hey!
Oh.